Well, this new anti-LGBTQ law becomes effective on July 8th, so on Thursday, and there's like a lot of fear and anxiety in our community. We receive a lot of messages, especially from youth and teenagers, that they are telling us that they imagine that they will be like living in Hungary and they plan their future, and now they are seriously considering leaving the country, even going to university to abroad, which is, has a lot of financial burdens, because they cannot imagine that they can live a happy and fulfilling life now in Hungary, that the government attacks LGBTQ persons so vigorously. Also, there's like a rising rate of depression. We are worried about suicide rates because we have statistics that 47% of Hungarian LGBTQ persons have suicide thoughts. So there's like a big fear in our community that these rates will rise and suicide attempts will rise, and also a big fear that a lot of young people will be leaving the country, and because they simply find life in Hungary like unlivable and unsafe for themselves.
And has there been any dangers faced by the LGBTQ community since these laws were announced?
Definitely, hate crimes and hate speech has risen tremendously. We experience this in our day-to-day lives, and we also receive a lot of stories from our community. There were two gay doctors about a week ago who got beaten up in a big city in the countryside in Pécs, and one of them was left unconscious. So this was not just like a simple, I don't know, someone got slapped on the street. This was like a serious hate crime. A lot of members of our community, a lot of volunteers are telling us that they get hate comments on the street almost daily. And we feel that, yes, the majority of the Hungarian community is way less homophobic than the government. The majority is way more accepting than Viktor Orban, but there is a radical minority who now feels legitimized to commit hate crimes and hate speech against LGBTQ persons, because if the government can do it, surely they can feel that they can do it too.
Victoria, what about yourself? Have you faced discrimination, and how do you cope with it?
Well, I am fortunate enough, and as many activists in like the Central Eastern European region, we are usually more privileged than the average of our community. So I haven't faced like violence or like very like massive instances of discrimination. Of course, if I'm like holding my girlfriend's hand on the street, I receive hate comments. Sometimes like groups of guys start following us. That is like almost the norm in Hungary. Also, there were instances when I was looking for a new apartment, and they figured out that I want to move in with my girlfriend and they didn't call us back. That is unfortunately very, very common in Hungary. And one time I was going home from a protest for academic freedom, and I was having a rainbow flag in my hand, and I decided I will not put it away. I will go home with this flag in my hand, and I received like 3 or 4 hate comments, and the 4th one came from a very, very drunk guy who was coming after me and saying like very, very insulting and derogatory terms. So at that point I just put the flag away quickly, and I was like faking a phone call with a friend, like, hi, I'm right at the apartment, can we meet sometime? So like the guy would think that I will be meeting with someone. So I had those experiences, but the average experience of Hungarian LGBTQ persons unfortunately can be much worse, and I find myself quite privileged that I only had like these minor incidents here in Budapest.
Yeah, of course, there is also the Pride Parade in Budapest that's upcoming. Will this still be happening, and what will you be expecting?
Definitely, we find in this moment extremely important to protest for our rights and to march and to mobilize as many people as we can for the Pride March on July 24th. And we want to really show our numbers and demonstrate for equality and for human rights. This new propaganda law, if you look at the wording, it's very hard to analyze because it's written very, very poorly and very, very vaguely. And we think that is very intentional from the Hungarian government. They want people to post self-censorship on themselves because you can't really understand the law. So just to be on the safe side, people will start being less visible, or people will start, I don't know, maybe cancel like public events for LGBTQ persons. So we intend to do the exact opposite and be as loud, as visible as we can. We think that this law doesn't affect the freedom of assembly, but if something happens, or if, I don't know, there will be a new law restricting even freedom of assembly, we will do civil disobedience and we will be twice as loud.
And Victoria, are you encouraged by the outcry from EU states, particularly from Sweden and the Netherlands, which is saying that with these laws, Hungary shouldn't even be part of the EU?
We are very, very welcoming this level of international solidarity. This has been amazing to experience such an alertness and awareness in the international diplomatic community about the Hungarian situation. We've been waiting for this a long time, actually, for the international media and the international community to pick up our cries for help. We've been doing this for years. It matters a lot, and we think that it matters a lot when heads of states and governments are putting pressure on the European Commission, because the European Commission has failed to step up against Viktor Orbán's anti-LGBTQ legislation for years now. And now it seems like the European Commission has to use its legal tools against the Hungarian government. So we are very, 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 very strengthened by this pressure, and we are calling all politicians and heads of states and governments to keep up this pressure and don't let us be left alone with these types of effects.
Okay, Victoria Radványi, really good to get your insights. All the best.
Thank you very much.